Robin Eldridge, a teaching assistant in the Meadows School of the Arts at Southern Methodist University, will be demonstrating the printmaking process of aquatint using contemporary methods. She is creating an image based on a print by Francisco Goya, plate 17 from the Los Caprichos series titled Bien Tirada Esta, which means "it is nicely stretched," in reference to the young woman's stockings. Goya was an 18th century Spanish painter and printmaker and a court painter to Carlos IV of Spain. He is known for his technical mastery of the aquatinting process. Aquatint, like etching, uses an application of acid on a copper printing plate in order to create marks that will hold ink below the surface. Aquatint creates tonal effects in varying degrees of darkness that are dependent upon how long the plate remains immersed in an acid bath. This process is a form of intaglio printmaking. The first steps in the process is applying powdered rosin or the dried sap of pine trees to a copper printing plate. To do so, an aquatint box uses a fan to distribute fine particles of rosin evenly across the plate's surface. Once the particles have settled onto the plate surface, the plate is then placed on a hot plate to melt and adhere the rosin particles. The melting particles can be seen in the darker areas of the plate. Stop-out varnish is a liquid mixture of rosin dissolved in alcohol and is painted onto the plate in areas the artist does not wish to be etched by the acid. These areas will remain untouched as the stop-out varnish is acid resistant. After the rosin dust has been melted and the stop-out varnish has been added to the plate is then placed into a shallow vat of acid. Acid used today is generally a corrosive salt solution. After the plate is removed from the acid bath, the acid is washed off with water and the stop-out varnish can be removed with alcohol. The artist may choose to pull a print of the work before it is finished in order to evaluate if the tonal areas need to be darker. For darker tones, more time in the acid bath is required. To pull a print, the copper plate is set on top of a hot plate and ink is spread on the surface. The plate is then wiped using a balled-up section of tarlatan, which is similar to cheesecloth. The plate is wiped in a circular motion with the tarlatan. After the plate has been wiped, the artist will place the copper plate on the bed of the press, ink side up. Printing paper must first be soaked in water in order to better pull the ink from the incised lines on the plate. The paper is blotted after it is pulled from the water to remove excess water. The paper should be damp, but not soaking. The paper is then laid on top of the inked plate with the plate in the center of the paper. Both the copper plate and the paper are run through the press. The pressure will transfer the inked image onto the paper, which is peeled off of the plate once through the press. After Robin created tonal images through aquatint, she then used the hard ground process to produce the darkest lines and outlines of the figures. Hard ground is made up of a mixture of asphaltum, a tar-like substance, and turpentine. This is painted on to cover and protect the plate. The plate is then heated until the turpentine evaporates and the asphaltum dries hard upon the plate surface once the plate has cooled. The artist then uses an etching needle, similar to a metal stylus, to draw through the asphaltum or ground to expose the copper below. The image is drawn only through the ground. The actual plate is not scratched into. After the image has been finished, the plate is then returned to the acid bath. The black asphaltum is acid resistant, so the only lines drawn are where there is exposed copper. The covered up portions of the plate will remain the same as they looked before the plate was placed in the acid for the second time. After the plate is removed from the acid, the asphaltum is cleaned off using kerosene and sawdust, rinsed with water, and dried. Now the plate is again ready for pulling an image. For this demonstration, Robin created 4 plates based on an image by Goya.